Welcome everyone back to our Be Kind for Lyme 3-question interview campaign that we're doing to raise awareness. And today we have a very special guest, Jordan Fisher-Smith, who most of you know is featured in the Under Our Skin documentary that came out in 2009 by Andy Abrahams Wilson. And we're very happy to have you. So if you just want to introduce yourself to those who don't know you.
So yeah, there's actually a couple of those documentaries. There was Under Our Skin, which came out in, 2008, I think April of 2008, and was on the Oscar shortlist in 2010 for Best Documentary Feature. And then there was another movie that came out in November of 2014 called Under Our Skin 2, Emergence. And now that you mention it, I guess both of them are on sale, right? There's a 2-for-1 sale if you go to Open Eye Pictures website. It's my understanding that they are selling both documentaries for the price of one.
That's great.
I think they're on CD. I don't know whether they download them or not, but you can also watch those on. I think they're on Amazon Pay-Per-View and other sources. So.
Well, that's good information. That's a great deal. We just want to pick your brain a little bit, and I think it would be nice to hear the backstory of how you partnered with Under Our Skin to be featured in that film with your history, if you want to share that.
Yeah, you know, what happened was that, you know, as I think people know, that I was a park ranger for 21 years in 4 states in the West and Northwest, and that in, 1998 or so, I got bit by a tick and, you know, unbeknownst to me, developed a case of Lyme and babesiosis, which wasn't diagnosed for a year and a half by the 5th doctor I went to, by the way, whom I had gone to because I knew he knew about tick-borne disease. By that time, I was a perfect profile of what the CDC said was a typical case of late-stage Lyme disease. I had everything. And so as a result of this, I had started being a freelance writer 8 years or something before that, and publishing. And as a result of this bad luck, I eventually had to give up rangering. And, you know, for a couple of years, I wasn't able to do anything. I mean, some of us Lyme patients couldn't find our butt with both hands, you know. So, but eventually I got to where I could work, and I published a book called Nature Noir. And Nature Noir is it's a nonfiction book, but it reads a little like you might imagine a novel. It's a story, and you know, it takes you on a journey, and it's a story about rangers, and it's true, of course. And there was a whole chapter in there about my experience with Lyme in the Sierra Nevada, here in the Sierra Nevada mountains where I live, and a little bit about how Lyme got there. And so when I went on book tour with Nature Noir, I wanted to do something. I was so, like a lot of us, you know, I was so angry and just, I think, upset and disappointed at how my case was handled. I could have been treated with a bottle of doxycycline within the first few weeks. I went to a doctor right away. I brought the tick with me. The doctor said, "Don't have to worry about that. There's no Lyme in California to speak of." And so, you know, it would have cost $12 at my cost to get a little bottle of doxycycline, and I never would have had to go through what I went through. So when I got on book tour with Nature Noir, I wanted to do something, and I kind of got together with my friend Amy Tan, and Amy and I and Jennifer Weiss, who's a wonderful Lyme activist in Manhattan and New York, and an editor at St. Martin's Press, and some other people organized a benefit in New York for Lyme disease. And all told, you know, much by Amy's efforts, I think we raised $425,000
wow.
for for the Columbia, or seed money to start the Columbia Lyme and tick-borne disease research center, which at that time was planned but didn't exist yet. So, so I was a little bit in the mix with Lyme people and Lyme activists and so on. And right around that time, I got an email from a researcher at Open Eye Pictures, this little film company in the San Francisco Bay Area that had started working on a film about Lyme disease. And they wanted to come and film me at one of my bookstore appearances. So I said, sure, you can come film me. And they did that. And then they showed up. They wanted to come to my home and interview me some more. And then they wanted to go up in the woods with me. And then pretty soon they followed me to New York to see my doctor. And then we went to New York again. And then they did more. So it was 3 years that I worked with those guys. You know, it was a great experience. It was a wonderful thing to be able to apply some of what I'd experienced and what I knew, how to tell a story, to a project that had that much reach. And I still feel like it's just one of the best things I ever did.
I have to agree. I mean, that documentary has changed changed so many things for so many people because they got an understanding of the other side. And, you know, it's a huge.
I can't even tell you how many people have written me and said, you know, I didn't know what I had until I saw that film. And then those people had what I had. So I went out and got, and some of these lucky people actually tested positive. And as you know, that's a privilege. Not all of us do, but so we got, I've got mail from all over the world from people who saw the movie, saw themselves in these characters and said, that's what I've got. And, and they knew they were in areas where ticks were. And those people then later wrote me and said, I got into treatment, I'm getting better. So, and between that and the political impact of what Andy Abrahams Wilson and his able people did to make this movie, and all the people who funded it, this was an effort that was basically crowdfunded from all kinds of people putting in donations to get that film made. And the film is all over the world now. I get mail from Australia, Eastern Europe, Russia, all over the place, and Canada, a lot of Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just been, it's been one of the best things I've ever been involved in, and I still feel really good about it. And,
well, I think for
even all the mail I have to answer.
I'm sure. I know. We're just delighted that you're taking time out to do this with us. But it also is such a great thing to share with friends and family who have no idea how to understand what people are going through. And I've shared it with family, like, would you just please watch this movie and maybe, the documentary, maybe you'll have a better understanding of what it is I'm battling. And, so it wasn't just for Lyme patients, it was something to share with friends and family too. And it had a big impact.
Yeah, that's very true. And a lot of people have used it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've suggested to others that they do. And I've, for a while I did a little bit of touring with the film and was in theaters when it was showing. And I've seen people come out, husbands and wives, in tears, just holding each other, because the one who's the caretaker gets what the other one's going through, and the one who's going through it gets what their caretakers go through. And as you know, this set of diseases can be awfully rough on families.
Yeah, I definitely did on mine for sure. So tell us if you are I know you're working on a new book, and is there any, aside from that, is there anything that you're doing Lyme Aware right now that, like maybe, I know you guest speak places and you're always all over the world doing that, right? So
yeah, that's sort of what I do. I'm in my professional life, I'm a storyteller. I tell stories in the way that people can understand, and I put things in context. And you know, as I see it, my role in the movie Under Our Skin was that you know, the movie at the time I began working with that brilliant bunch of people was a story about suffering and injustice, you know, and a lack of medical care. And I think one thing I brought to that film was an environmental awareness that I look upon Lyme disease and the whole suite of, you know, of other tick-borne diseases, including, you know, Babesia, you know, Bartonella, Ehrlichia, Anaplasmosis, Mycoplasma, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, tularemia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I look at these diseases as nature's way of telling you something's wrong. And there's a little scene in Under Our Skin where I say that, you know, that as we've seen a major disruption of nature, that we've somehow expected that it wouldn't affect us in our bodies, you know, that it's something where we see endangered species go down, or we see forests go down, or we see oceans rise. But I think there's a somatic effect of just knowing that, well, I'm well fed and I'm in a well-heated home, and outside of those of you who have PICC lines in your arms, you know, already.
Yeah, I just got one out.
Many people don't know that environmental change can actually give them diseases. So, you know, I think my role has been to make connections for people, to tell a story in a way that people understand the context of what's happening to them individually. And so to that end, you know, I'm planning to be doing more appearances and talking about Lyme this year. I'm going to be on book tour with my new book, Engineering Eden. And while I'm going around, I'm going to also do some talks, not about the book, but about my experience with Lyme disease. And I'm going to get around and do them. You know, if people can afford to get me there and get a hall for me to speak in, I'm going to try to put into context this whole experience, this whole journey that I've had. You know, I had a 9.5-year illness. I was treated with antibiotics for 7.5 years by some heroic doctors who were willing to risk their licenses, you know, to treat me. And, you know, I want to tell more about that. And so I'm going to do a little touring about Lyme.
Do you have any specific cities that you know you're going to already?
Well, we're just starting to organize the book tour, and the book tour, you know, has to interlink with my Lyme talks. So, so far, I can't tell you much, and you know, maybe we can set a way for this interview to somehow. I know people can find me on Facebook at writer Jordan Fisher Smith. If you use the little search blank in Facebook and put in writer Jordan Fisher Smith and send me a message, then maybe we can work something out. But I know that I'm going to be doing a talk for Bay Area Lyme Foundation, and I'm talking to those wonderful people, the Skalls, Monty and Greg Skall, in Washington D.C., who are the people sort of behind. There are many other heroes there, but that they've been behind the development of the National Capital Lyme Disease Association, which in my mind has been one of our most effective advocates for change in legislation and legislative and administrative law. And I think that stuff's really important. So I might be able to get over there and do a talk for them. We're just kind of talking about how we could do that. And then, you know, I'm open to coming other places.
Well, it's funny you bring up NatCap Lyme, because one of my previous interviews was with John McLean, who's the North Carolina chapter president, chair, whatever you want to call it. And I am supposed to get with Monty. They can't do it this month. She's on my list. They're on my list to do something.
They've got their big run coming up
yes.
On the 15th of May. So maybe after that they can talk. But,
and I'm going to that. That's May 14th is that, and I'm gonna hook up with John McLean there. So it was just funny that you brought them up, because John and I are, you know, talking about we need a chapter in South Carolina, which is where I am, and he's in North Carolina. So, but they do incredible work. So that was a good plug for them because we did them already.
It's some point when you and I were talking before this interview, I think you asked, what can people do? And, I think what National Capital Lyme has done, what some of these other, really great organizations have been doing for years, is to focus efforts on actual legislation and actual rule changes and actual changes in administrative law. And I think it's really important for all of us to notice the difference between things that are symbolic and help us bond with each other and things that actually change the world. And I'm not saying that our bonding with each other doesn't change the world. I'm saying that I see a fair amount of, what do you call it, memes. Is it memes, right?
Yeah, it's memes.
Around the internet of, changing your face green or doing other symbolic things to, to support Lyme awareness. And I think there's something that goes on right now with media where people are easily drawn into a sense that by chatting with each other on the internet or doing, little symbolic acts, like one point I think I was asked to dump a bucket of ice water over my head and take a movie of it. And I think it's really important for us to also, not exclusively, but to also enlist ourselves in actual legislative efforts. And that means to join with and be active in as much as you can. And that even if you're just, if you're sick at home and you're exhausted, maybe you write, an email, or maybe you send a letter to somebody, or maybe you make a phone call to a key legislator when they ask you to do it. But you link up with these our best organizations, and you try to get in line with what they're doing legislatively and what they're doing with policy and what they're doing with the things that really make a difference. Maine, the state of Maine, they passed a doctor protection bill last year. I think it was last year, wasn't it? So that means that the doctors who use long-term antibiotics cannot be run out of practice in Maine. You can do lots of other symbolic things. You can turn your picture green. You can, join Facebook groups that talk about things. The difference between talking about things and actually enlisting your body and what's left of your intelligence when you've got Lyme, and all of us know how it is to have brain fog, in the actual fight. And I really want to encourage people to join these organizations, whichever one you choose, and then make yourself available for actual efforts to support people like Susan Green, this heroic lawyer who's been working in the Southeast. You look at what's going on in Virginia, and you look at what one person like Susan Green, this amazing lawyer, has been able to do. That's the stuff I want to steer people into.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The call to action. Like, what can you do if I know there's so many people that are homebound, they're bedbound, they're disabled, they can't do anything, but there are things that we can do from our homes. If for instance, if your state doesn't have, May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, that just might even take a couple of phone calls to the governor or a senator or whatever, because we can get one of those in every state. I got one in South Carolina. There are a lot. There's meaningful things to having a support group, because it helps people feel, like you said, you do need people to talk to, and you want to be able to share things in a group that doesn't show on your regular Facebook wall, because you need that support. But then there is the call to action. What can we do? And the legislation, that's really the main goal of why we have all this awareness, and social media has helped us explode on the awareness side, but we do need to act and do more.
Yeah, I think you brought up an important word, social media there. Social media does connect us, but it also provides with a lot of activities that could be mistaken for activism.
Uh-huh.
Meaning we by clicking on certain buttons and or joining certain ad hoc groups, we might feel like we're doing something, But what I'm suggesting is to actually join these bigger, very well organized, politically active organizations that are working in the legislative arena, and not expect yourself to know who to write or who to call, but join them at the lowest level whatever level you can afford, and then answer their calls to action when they want you to help them get a bill passed, or they want you to help them get a policy changed at the state or federal level. Mm-hmm. Some of the most effective efforts that are being done are at the state level. Now, sometimes moving the federal government is moving mountains, right? Mm-hmm. But at the state level, there are these efforts that people are pulling these things off right now in Virginia and in Maine and in other states.
In Maryland, yeah.
Maryland, that's right. Yeah. And so I think it's important to distinguish between the things that connect us, these social media, and doing something. Like connecting is good, talking is good, changing your when the big event happened in Paris, we all changed our pictures to red, white, and blue in support of Parisians, right? So that's a symbolic act, but there's also practical acts that have to do with getting these laws changed.
I love that you shared all that, because that's exactly, our mission behind the 3-question interview is for interviewees like you to say things like that, so that we're putting it out there, and people are learning something from the videos or the interviews that we're doing, so that they can be a little bit more active. And like you said, the symbolic stuff is great, but that's the awareness side, but we need the legislative side too. And NatCap Lyme was actually the starting point of when I felt well enough to start doing Lyme awareness events in my community. They were the ones that provided me with all my literature, so to share, bookmarks and pamphlets and whatever. So they hold they're very dear to me, and I'm indebted to them for all the stuff that they've given to me over the last few years for my awareness events. So I'm hoping to get to talk to Susan Green. She's on the list too. But this is exactly what we wanted to do with this video, and we're very, very happy that you shared all that. Very important.
Thank you.
So is there anything else? I know you said the book is coming out. What's your published date?
Well, the new book is called, the last book was Nature Noir, and that book is still out there. You can get that online at the usual booksellers. Mm-hmm. It's out as an ebook and as an audiobook as well. You can download it as an audiobook from audible.com. The new book is called Engineering Eden. It's another true story. And Engineering Eden comes out from Penguin Random House on, I think it's the 6th of June, this coming up the 6th of June, about a month from now. And I'll be touring around with that book. And it's another book about nature and people, and about the struggle to understand how to manage with nature. In this case, it's the death of a single guy in a grizzly attack, and a big court case that followed, and the big arguments between biologists over how to repair nature when it's damaged by people.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
But if you want to, actually, if you go to writer Jordan Fisher Smith, mm-hmm. On Facebook, you can, I think there's probably something there about Engineering Eden. And, we're about to launch a new website that you can just Google my name. There is an existing one up. It's sort of a ghost town. But within the next few weeks, we'll have a new website out. And I'll be cruising around different parts of the country talking to people.
Are you coming anywhere near South Carolina?
I'd like to. I actually, I did an event with Dr. Jemsek in North Carolina, and I loved it. And I love the Carolinas in general. And, if we get an offer or something that, some way to get me there, I would love to come.
Okay.
Actually, it looks like we'll have some events in Alabama and Georgia already.
In Georgia? Okay.
And those have not been announced yet, but that's probably in the fall. So if I had to take a guess about when I'll be in DC, you know, the Southeast, maybe the Carolinas, Alabama, Georgia, etc., I would say probably in the fall. And so I'd love to come to the Carolinas. I love it.
That'd be great. Well, what we will do when this video ends, there will be a screen that will share all of this information, your Nature's Noir book. Maybe we can talk when I turn the video off, which links we need to use that you approve of. But that way people can find you and see the books, and that'll be listed. And this video is going to be, you know, published and put on our Be Kind for Lyme YouTube channel. So it'll be able to be shared and viewed as many times as anybody wants. And you're a popular guy, so I think this will get a lot of views.
Well, you know, I don't know. I got to be a popular guy by accident with an unpopular disease.
Yeah, true.
And you know, I have kind of a soft spot for the people that are going through it now, because it was hell for me. And so I think probably the best way to find out where I am for now is to go to writer Jordan Fisher Smith at Facebook and like the page, and we'll make sure that the people who like it get bulletins or get steered to the new website and about where I'll be. They're just about to put out a schedule of my book tour, so that'll be out in less than a month in June, and you kind of see where I'm going and where I might be able to come. So.
Wow, very exciting. Well, I'm gonna keep you on for a second when I'm gonna close up the recording, and then we can chat for a few seconds after when I press stop. So we thank you so much for giving up your very precious time to do this.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and your activism is key also. So thank you.
Thank you.